friends. Welcome to Whoop with Jen. Just a little short one today. A little episode about school transportation. And this was kind of written by myself spontaneously when I was kind of venting to myself. But honestly, school transportation has been a big issue for us for years. And recently with summer school, I've just been particularly frustrated. If you live in Arizona and your child has an IEP, which stands for Individualized Education Plan, then your child is entitled to door-to-door yellow bus transportation. And yes, it is the small bus, and I've heard that so crudely referred to as, the short bus. But it is door-to-door, and it creates a more safe environment to get your kid to school than the large buses with typical kids. And also, sometimes it has aids on it, depending on each student's needs. And there are some medically fragile children that need special assistance. But transportation is a freaking nightmare. When you call your director of special education or anyone in a faculty function, it becomes very apparent that no one knows who leads transportation and why it is not housed under the same roof of special ed. There's lots of shrugs and kind of not finger pointing, but passing it off to someone else and saying, I don't have control over that. And it's obvious that no one does. It's a complete mystery to me. I want to know who in the Paradise Valley Unified School District is in charge of transportation, because apparently nobody freaking is. I have many jobs, and one of them is I'm in real estate. And sometimes I have a client who wants to see 12 houses in one day. I look them all up and figure out with maps where they all are and create a route that allows us to see them in the most efficient fashion, including drive time and in between, and of course their availability if they're occupied by a resident. We have to get their permission in advance. And that's called logistics. And companies like Amazon and FedEx master it. A computer can master it. And that's how I think. I was a CPA for over 20 years. I'm analytical and linear. I don't know what barriers people in transportation have, and I'm going to give them credit because I think it's probably funding. I don't think people inherently want to be bad at their jobs. I just think that the districts can't afford to hire the best and the brightest, or they don't incentivize them to do their jobs in a way that doesn't make our kids' days totally suck. And the district always has postings listed to fill these jobs. I mean, yes, they just don't pay enough to hire all the available positions. It's just not an attractive enough job. And so their solution is to put more kids on fewer buses, and it sucks. One year, they had no bus to pick up my daughter, and they actually had to contract with a third-party service provider who drove an unmarked white van. A white van, like what a kidnapper or a molester would drive. And the company never introduced themselves. They changed drivers all the time without notifying me because they had quit or gotten fired. Which they are supposed to tell me because it's criminal. I finally lost my shit talking to a supervisor because I wanted to know why. They don't tell me who is driving my disabled and intellectually, disabled kid around. And why is it okay to tell her that she can get onto any white van with any driver that she has never seen before? And that just hit a chord with this person because, well, I'm sure I was referred to as the biatch behind my back. At least I was doing what was best to protect my daughter, and at least they would let me know when they had a changeover in drivers, which happened all the time. I think these people are serious drug users, and they just don't show up to work. So when school starts at, say, 9 a.m., I wonder why they have to pick her up at 7:30. And at one point, this was my barely potty-trained daughter. What if she has to go to the bathroom? Will they pull over and go somewhere, or will they just let her wet her pants? School gets out at 2:30, and she's not home until 3:30. She has a very long school day, plus an extra 2.5 hours sitting on a bus. And if you've listened to my Schedule F from Hella, you know that she's also fairly scheduled every afternoon with therapies after the school day, plus 2.5 hours for a bus ride that could take me 15 minutes each way. And the way I drive, it's more like 5. But I keep her on the bus for 2 reasons. Number 1, she loves it. She loves the bus. She loves yellow. She loves memorizing the number on the bus. She thinks it's alive. And 2, I'm not going to decline services because they are inefficient. I'm going to work to make it right because it's in her IEP and she deserves it. And because I fraternize with awesome people and my friend and neighbor, and who's also a parent of a special needs kid, they say it's probably against the law and against the American with Disabilities Act to make a disabled person ride on a school bus longer than a disabled person would. So genius. It's good to vent because you get awesome feedback and information, and I drop that gem all the time. Some days I wait and wait and wait for the bus to show up. Whether it's in the morning to take her to school or in the afternoon after I've massively violated speeding laws to make it home in time to just sit and wait. Some mornings I just told them to screw off and took Elle to school because I really needed to get on with my morning. And the drop-offs at school are a complete nightmare. There are tons of parents in line. I mean, the school has, I think, 1,600 kids at it. It's a high school. And they all do drop off. There's no parking. And I have to actually get her to the secure area for the self-contained classes. So yeah, I'm that mom, quote unquote. I cut people off because my kid is special and I'm going to the front parking lot to escort her personally in through the front door, which you're technically probably not allowed to do. It absolutely baffles me how such a lapse in communication creates so much chaos. When her bus doesn't show up in the morning because 4 drivers call in sick at the last minute, it amazes me that the district does not pick up the phone to tell us that they will be late or not coming at all. I waited 30 minutes for that call one morning, only to realize I had to take her in, and by the time all was said and done, I had lost an hour out of my day. Poof. A simple call to me at 5 a.m. when the drivers are supposed to show up would have been amazing. And I don't understand why that is so hard. I mean, one call could have solved all of it. When Elle was in elementary school, she had a nice but creepy bus driver. He seemed friendly enough, but he was also kind of a little off. One day he mentioned that Elle had been swinging the seatbelts around and that they could go and hit another child. And I immediately told him, okay, well, you need an aide on this bus to keep the kids safe. And then he balked, even though he had brought it up. I called the school psychiatrist. I don't know why they're my point of contact for transportation, but I called the school psychiatrist. He's coordinated this stuff, and he called back and carefully said, after thoughtful discussion with the bus driver, that they did not feel Elle or any of the other passengers were unsafe. Very matter-of-factly so. And no, your request is denied. And this was before I got really crazy, so I was not doing a good job of advocating for her when I heard things that didn't make sense. I just sort of accepted it, and I will carry that guilt around with me forever. A few weeks later, I got a call from the school district informing me that that bus driver had been arrested in a sting operation for soliciting sex online from a cop posing as an underage minor. They did not believe any students had been hurt, but my jaw was on the floor. I mean, this was the guy who said that Elle could hurt people, but also didn't want an aide on the bus. My mind was racing to all the horrible and possible reasons. Why did he not want an aide on the bus? Why did the psychiatrist not think an aide was necessary? Has my daughter been hurt? I felt extremely lucky that she was the first stop once the bus left school, and I timed it, and I knew that they did most likely drive straight to my house. And then I thought about who might be that last kid on the bus and how long his parent waited for them at their house. And if they stopped along the way or drove straight there. I was happy to not be that parent, and I felt sad for them at the same time. But then automatically, Elle got an aide on all of her routes. And ridiculously enough, I had to specify that it could not be two men between a bus driver and an aide. I really don't think that's fair to put a young girl on a bus with two men. So now she's in high school, and I interrogate the drivers and the aides and let them know I'm a resourceful, crazy mom. And I think the fear of facing me is enough protection, and I'm teaching Elle what is and isn't okay. And fortunately, we haven't had any incidences. And so many of the drivers and aides are like the nicest people, and they really, you can tell that they enjoy my daughter and her joy for riding the bus. The day after her bus driver was arrested, though, she went to school with a new and female driver, and I actually think it was probably an administrator who had a desk job in transportation to fill in. But I was taking Jack to his bus stop at the elementary school, and we knew his bus driver really, really well. Her name is Rita. And so we would stand at the corner at the bus stop, and the kids would play. Some people would bring their dogs. We'd have our coffee. The moms would chat, and it was a blend of stay-at-home moms and working moms. And I was always, sweating out the armpits of my Ann Taylor blouses because I'm the working mom. And my son's bus came, and Rita stopped, put on all her lights and, her stop sign, put the bus in park, and came out, sobbing to hug me. She said, "I heard what happened to Elle's driver, and I'm so upset because that is the sister of one of my kids." The weight of her hug was so big on my shoulders. I had not expected that emotion from someone, that she would feel my pain and fear. And that is humanity, and that is pure. That is how the world should operate, as if someone else's loss or need is your own. And it's called empathy. And I still remember this moment today, and obviously it still affects me. Thank you, Rita. So whoop, whoop. You were a warrior then, and now I realize it. Hey, friends. Thanks for listening. This is Jen. We're off to Adams Camp. If you haven't heard of it, adamscamp.org. Take care.